This episode is powered by Pod Decks. Pod Decks are unique interview questions and episode starting prompts in the palm of your hand. So whether you're a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience and have more meaningful conversations, you're going to want to check out Pod Decks. Now, if you want to get 10% off your order right now, you can go to poddecks.com and type in coupon code. What's the code?
Larry21.
Yes, that's the code. Check out poddecks.com. Take your podcast to the next level.
Welcome to the True Crime Never Sleeps podcast. We dive into stories of true crime, from unsolved cold cases to historic kidnapping to gangsters and beyond. We are your source for true crime. We thank you for listening. Welcome to the True Crime Never Sleeps podcast. I'm your host, Larry Likens. Today, on Murder Monday, we're diving into the family that murdered and tortured together, Gertrude Banizzewski. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Pod Decks, for sponsoring this episode. You can check them out today at poddecks.com and use the promo code Larry21 for 10% off your order. Now let's dive right into Murder Monday. Apologies for butchering her name. I'll do the best I can. Baniszewski was an Indiana divorcee who oversaw and facilitated the prolonged mutilation, torture, and eventual murder of Sylvia Likens. Likens was a teenage girl staying with a murderous family at the time. At the time of Sylvia's death, she was extremely malnourished and had over 150 different wounds on her body in various stages of healing. As a child, Gertrude had a close relationship with her father, who died suddenly of a heart attack in 1939. Her relationship with her mother was described as fractured. In 1945, having recently dropped out of school, she married John, a violent man. The couple had 4 children. Shortly after the marriage ended, she entered into a violent affair with Dennis Lee Wright, with who she had 1 child. Wright left after the birth of the child. With this, she was destitute with several children to bring up. The problem was compounded when her 16-year-old daughter fell pregnant with a married man's baby. During this time, Baniszewski health started to deteriorate. In 1965, she met Sylvia Likens through her daughter Paula. Her parents agreed that Gertrude would take both Sylvia and her sister Jenny in as boarders. Unfortunately, the parents never checked the house they sent their children to. If they had, they would have discovered it was in a poor state of repair, with only enough beds for half the occupants. When the parents failed to pay the boarding fee, Gertrude beat the sisters, taking their undergarments off, laying them over the bed, and whipping them with a belt. This was the first of many fits of abuse. While the parents did see their children occasionally, neither divulged the abuse. Sylvia bore the brunt of most of the torture. Amongst these, she was made to eat her vomit, urine, and feces. She had multiple cigarettes extinguished on her. She was given regular beatings and made to sit on the floor. Others would carve letters and phrases into her body with a knife. Whenever Baniszewski attacked Likens, it would be to accuse her of being a prostitute. Although her vagina was so damaged it was swollen shut, her hymen was intact. However, the abuse was not just carried out by her. The whole family viewed Likens as a plaything and torture. They would charge their friends money to come and beat her, throw her down the stairs, and practice their martial arts moves on her. In addition, she was often made to stand naked in the lounge so that boys could assault her and ridicule her. This reign of terror culminated with 24 hours of extreme torture. During this day, she was beaten multiple times and had messages carved into her flesh. When the police eventually intervened and found her body, the family had coerced her to write a letter stating a gang had attacked her. Her sister Jenny whispered to one of the officers, "You get me out of here, and I'll tell you everything." Gertrude was charged along with 4 others. Paula, her eldest daughter, pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter during retrial and received a sentence of 3 years. John, her young son, Coy Hubbard, and Richard Hobbs were found guilty of manslaughter. They were sent to Indiana Reform on a sentence of 2 to 21 years. All 3 served under 2 years. For her part in the murder, Gertrude was sentenced to 18 years. She was paroled in 1985 and died in 1990. The rest of the family went on to lead satisfactory lives. The reason for the light sentences was never made clear. Although the Likens family campaigned to keep the family behind bars longer, this did not happen. The level of torture and punishment they inflicted on this poor girl would have justified a heavier sentence. Yet, they were let go. In June 2001, a 6-foot-tall granite memorial was formally dedicated to Sylvia Likens' life and legacy in Willard Park, Indianapolis. The dedication was attended by several hundred people, including family members. The memorial itself is inscribed with these words: "This memorial is in memory of a young child who died a tragic death." And that is all we have for this episode of the True Crime Never Sleeps podcast. As always, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Let us know your thoughts on the topics we covered. And if you want to support the show, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/TCNS. Your support helps the channel grow, reach a new, bigger audience, upgrade our equipment, hire new hosts and writers, create new shows. All this is made possible with your support, so we thank you. And until the next episode, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. You have been listening to the True Crime Never Sleeps podcast. Thank you for listening. You can follow us on Facebook at True Crime Never Sleeps podcast and on Twitter at True Crime NS. And follow us on Instagram at True Crime Never Sleeps. Thanks for watching. If you want to support the show, buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/TCNS or become a patron at patreon.com/True Crime Never Sleeps.